The night air was heavy with the lingering smell of rain and the faint hum of a distant streetlight. Miss Loretta shuffled along the cracked sidewalk, her worn shoes making soft thuds against the pavement. At 68, every step carried the dull ache of years of work, long shifts cleaning offices, tending to other people's mess while quietly carrying her own burdens. She clutched her thin coat tighter around her, the cool wind biting at her cheeks as she made her way home from her late-night cleaning job. Behind the row of run-down apartment buildings, she took her usual shortcut, a narrow alley most people avoided. The shadows stretched long and deep there, but Loretta had walked this path for years, unafraid. Tonight, though, something made her pause. A faint, high-pitched sound drifted through the quiet. At first, she thought it was a stray cat mewling somewhere among the trash bins. But as she drew closer, the sound grew clearer, sharper. It wasn't a meow. It was a cry, a baby's cry. Her heart pounded as she followed the sound to an overflowing dumpster, its metal sides cold and slick with moisture. There, in the dim glow of a flickering light, she saw them, 2 tiny bundles wrapped in filthy, damp blankets. The smaller one's lips trembled as it wailed weakly, while the older baby, barely a toddler, whimpered and clutched at the smaller one's blanket as if trying to protect it. Loretta's breath caught in her throat. "Oh, dear Lord," she whispered, kneeling beside them. She could see their faces now, eyes wide and scared, cheeks flushed from the cold. Without thinking, she scooped them both into her arms, feeling the fragile weight of their tiny bodies against her chest. She hesitated for a moment, glancing down the alley as if expecting someone to rush forward and claim them. But no one came. The only witnesses were the shadows and the damp night air. Loretta's voice was soft but firm. "Don't you worry, babies. You're not staying out here another minute." With that, she turned and began the slow walk home, her arms full, her heart already bound to them forever. Miss Loretta's small 2-bedroom apartment wasn't much. Peeling wallpaper in the hallway, a stove that rattled when it heated up, and a couch with springs that groaned under the weight of anyone who sat on it. But to Isaiah and Hope, it became a world of safety and warmth from the moment she carried them through that creaky wooden door. The first few weeks were a blur of sleepless nights. Loretta, who hadn't held a baby in decades, found herself warming bottles at 2 a.m., changing diapers with trembling hands, and humming old church hymns to soothe their cries. She named the older one Hope because she believed the child's wide, searching eyes carried it. The smaller one she named Isaiah, for the prophet who spoke of God's comfort and promise. Money was tight, painfully so. Loretta's part-time cleaning jobs barely covered the rent and groceries, and now there were mouths that needed more than just bread and beans. Some days she skipped lunch at work, tucking the sandwiches into her bag for the babies instead. But what they lacked in material things, she tried to make up for in love. Her apartment slowly transformed. There were crayon marks on the walls from Hope's curious little hands, piles of mismatched baby clothes drying on a line in the living room, and the smell of cornbread baking whenever she could spare the ingredients. The sound of their giggles bounced off the walls like music, chasing away the silence that used to haunt her evenings. Neighbors shook their heads, whispering that a woman her age had no business raising children. But Loretta paid them no mind. She had promised herself, and God, that these babies would never know the kind of abandonment they had faced that night by the dumpster. At night, after the children were tucked in, she would sit at the kitchen table, bills spread out before her, pen in hand, worry in her heart. Yet even in those moments, when the weight of the world seemed too much, the soft sound of Isaiah and Hope breathing in their sleep reminded her why she chose this path. The years rolled by, and Loretta watched her babies grow into young teenagers. Isaiah, now 15, had shot up like a beanpole, his voice deepening but still soft when he spoke to her. Hope, 14, had inherited her caretaker's quiet strength, always the first to help with chores or bring Loretta a blanket when her knees ached. But love alone couldn't shield them from life's storms. One bright afternoon at the grocery store, Loretta reached for a carton of milk, and the world tilted. A sharp pain tore through her chest, and the next thing she knew, she was waking up under the harsh glow of hospital lights. The doctor's words still rang in her ears. "Your heart is weak. You'll need treatment, and you'll have to slow down." Slowing down wasn't an option. Rent still had to be paid, and her babies still needed her. But she noticed the changes. Isaiah began staying out later, pulled toward a group of neighborhood boys who spoke in low tones and laughed a little too loud. Hope, without telling her, started working evenings at a corner store to help buy groceries. Loretta's nights grew longer. She'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if she'd given them enough to stand on their own if her time ran short. The thought of leaving them, of them being alone in the world again, was a pain sharper than any ache in her chest. She prayed more than ever, her hands clasped tight, whispering into the quiet, "Lord, give me just enough time to see them grown." It was a quiet Saturday afternoon when the knock came. Loretta was in the kitchen, humming softly as she stirred a pot of beans, the comforting aroma filling the small apartment. Isaiah and Hope were sprawled on the couch, bickering good-naturedly over the television remote. The knock came again, firm, deliberate. Loretta wiped her hands on her apron and shuffled to the door. Through the peephole, she saw a sleek black car parked by the curb and two strangers standing outside, a tall man in a tailored suit and a woman with kind eyes, holding a leather folder. "Miss Loretta Brown," the woman asked when the door opened. Her voice was warm but carried the weight of something important. "Yes, can I help you?" The man stepped forward. "I'm Marcus Turner. This is Denise Carter, a social worker. We've been looking for you." Loretta's brow furrowed. "Looking for me? Why?" Denise's gaze shifted toward the living room, where Isaiah and Hope had now peeked around the corner. "We believe these are the two children who were abandoned as infants, near a dumpster, many years ago. I was assigned to their case back then. And Marcus," she hesitated, then smiled softly. "Marcus is their uncle. Their late mother was his sister." Loretta's hand flew to her mouth, her knees weakening. Marcus's eyes glistened as he looked at the teens. "I've been searching for them ever since I learned they survived. And I want to thank you for saving my family." The room felt still, the only sound the soft bubbling from the kitchen stove. Loretta's heart pounded, torn between shock, relief, and a cautious hope she hadn't dared to feel in years. 6 months later, Loretta's life looked nothing like it once had. The cramped apartment with its peeling wallpaper was a memory. Now she woke each morning in a cozy brick house with wide windows that let in golden light. Out back, a small garden bloomed, rows of tomatoes, collard greens, and bright marigolds swaying in the breeze. Marcus had insisted she live close to the children. He bought the house outright, telling her it was the least he could do. "Family takes care of family," he said, pressing the keys into her hand. Her heart had swelled, not for the gift itself, but for the safety it promised. Her heart surgery had been covered without a single bill arriving in the mail. Recovery was slow, but with Marcus's support, Denise's check-ins, and the children's watchful care, Loretta began to feel stronger than she had in years. Isaiah now attended a good high school with a basketball program that kept him out of trouble, while Hope thrived in her art classes, her drawings covering the fridge in bright splashes of color. Their laughter still filled her home, but now it was joined by the sounds of friends visiting, dreams being spoken out loud, and plans for the future. One warm evening, Loretta sat on her porch, rocking gently as she watched Isaiah and Hope chase each other across the lawn. Marcus leaned on the railing beside her, smiling at the sight. "They've got a good life ahead of them," he said softly. Loretta's eyes misted. They always did. They just needed someone to believe in it. As the sun dipped low and fireflies began to dance in the garden, Loretta whispered to herself, God knew what he was doing that night. And for the first time in years, she felt completely at peace.